the fear of being judged, and how do we move past this? And the reason it's so important is because it's holding you back. Like, you may be there in this place of, I've accomplished so much, and I speak up and I have all these things, but in reality you may, let's say, judge things like women's circles or men's groups, or anywhere where people are like expressing themselves. You're like, oh, that's cute, that's nice for them. And I totally get this, because I was in that place. Like, that was my default. And there's a reason for that. And there's a deep wound to be addressed there. And this is why I want to share this with you, because you deserve to be free from that. Because the fact is, either you own it or it owns you. And I know this was a huge change for me, that I'm like, I am not going to be owned by my ego. Like, screw that. Okay. It may be painful, it may be difficult, but I actually want to be in control of my life. So if this is you, let's dive right in. All right, the fear of judgment. Now, this is something that I've experienced in a personal dynamic where the person was there like, I'm afraid to be judged, or I feel that there's so much pressure because I am being judged. And I was also in that place at some point. We've all been there. We've either been, the person who judges or the one that feels judged. And I want to bring this to awareness. It's all one and the same. And this is what is so, so important to understand. Whatever you put out there, your subconscious recycles. So when you judge, when you're there on the street, and oh God, this used to be my dad. We would drive on the street and he would just be there like, oh, what is this person wearing? And could they not think of like a better, more suitable thing for the weather or whatever? Like, he would just comment about strangers. And like, looking back at that, I'm like, I can only imagine what was going on in his head in regards to how his inner critic was attacking himself. Because this is what happens. Whatever we throw out in the world is what our subconscious sees against us. So if you're there judging people, if you're there, and this is a protective mechanism, I just really want to emphasize this. This isn't bad. It's like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I'm so, I feel like I'm better than everyone else, or like I'm judging everyone. It's a protective mechanism because you're trying to keep yourself safe. I know my ego, I was hell to work with when I started working with my mentors, all of them. I would criticize everybody's teaching because my ego was so afraid to get lost. First of all, it was just like afraid to open to anything. It was afraid for this possibility of like admitting like, wow, I didn't have to be stuck my whole life. And I remember when these incredible people that were just such pure souls were just unconditional love and were holding space for me. And my ego was like, no, they have an agenda and this isn't true. And like, this can be true. Because it was so terrifying if this is true, that means I was my worst enemy for most of my life. And that means that misery, and I went through suicidal depression, like that means that was a choice. And I don't want to admit to that. That's terrifying. So I would judge it. So I do want to emphasize that, whether you feel judged by someone, you're like, oh, why is this, like, this person's so negative, they're judging. Can you see the scared child within them? And not this warrior with a sword. There's a scared child behind that. That's the only reason anyone needs to protect themselves. So, first of all, that when we're judging, right? When we're judging others, when we feel judged, it is only because we judge others. When you are just cultivating and training that muscle of, oh, I want to say a criticism. No, let me notice what's great about this person. Let me notice what's great about this moment. Like, it was incredible when I had my spiritual shift and just noticing the circles that I was in and the people that I was with. I'm like, becoming really aware of their language. I'm like, wow, they're criticizing. Like, every 3 seconds they're complaining about something. This is insane. Like, they're finding something that is wrong, and then they're finding something else wrong with them. And I could just how they look, or, oh, a stupid me, I forgot this. And I'm like, I'm scared to have an idea, even imagine what is going on in their head, and that inner critic, how vicious it must be. So we only feel judged when we are judging others. So if you are there being like, I feel like I'm not enough, I feel like everything that I do is not enough, and especially men have that wound, or the masculine within us, men or women, it's because we are judging others, because we're demanding too much from others. And catch that. And if you want to go deeper with this, this is what I do with my one-on-one clients. Reach out to me. There's a link below. But even on your own level, just understanding like, okay, what do I feel judged for? I feel judged for how I'm not holding space for me, or for someone close to me. And the reason I said for me is because the odds are, where is it that I'm actually not holding space for me? Or where is it that I'm judging that someone else isn't holding space for me? Which really what it means is that you need to be held, and you're not getting that from another person, okay? Or the things that we judge about others are usually, that wasn't a tear, that was an eyelash, are usually those things that trigger us. Like I remember a mentor sharing about how they were really triggered by a woman who was kind of like leading with her sexuality, and I think it was like a healer or something, and they were like very in their feminine embodiment, and to the point that it was like, okay, this is putting me off. And what this person did, they actually like, wait, I'm judging that. Why? Like, what is triggering me about that? And it was about like, oh, I'm actually not okay with my own sexuality and like with my own feminine expression. And like, so that feels like too much because I don't feel comfortable in my expression in this way. So it's not for no reason. And like I said, either you own it or it owns you, because we talk about free will, right? It's like, well, I don't want to go into that, and I have free will. It's like, do you though? Because every time, if you're getting close to something that's uncomfortable, you're like, oh, I don't want that, I'm going to go the other way. Is that free will, or is that you being manipulated by your childhood trauma? By your childhood stories that aren't even yours, that things that like you just picked up along the way. And that's what's guiding your life. And your life is subconscious. 90% of your life is subconscious. That is a freaking terrifying number. When I first heard it, I'm like, oh my God, I want to live consciously. I don't want to be a puppet to whatever crap was put into my mind by people who raised me, by people around me, by social conditioning. I don't want this to be my default. And like, who do I want to be? And getting so freaking clear on this. Because you deserve that freedom. And so many of us chase that freedom like outside of ourselves, right? And it's like, well, I need to get the money, or I need to have the business, or I need to have the family. And like, that will be my freedom. That will be my love. And then they do. And then it feels empty. Because they haven't tapped into the true freedom that is wholeness. That is that conscious living that's like, wow, I'm not a puppet of my mind. Putting those programs there consciously. So, on this note, what are you hearing me say? What is landing for you? And the invitation here that I want to offer to you is, I'm opening 2 spots for women and 1 spot for men for my one-on-one self-mastery program, because the energetics there are different, and I have different openings at different times. So if this is for you, if you're ready to just freaking let go of that and be free and come into that, like, the freedom that lasts. Not the freedom of like, okay, I'm financially independent. Oh, I lost it all. Or like, oh, I have the family. Oh, the kids grew up. The freedom that actually lasts, not the temporary highs. If that's something that you want to experience, then link is below, or you can DM me on my Instagram at The Spiritual Analyst, and then we can see if we're in alignment and have a call to get clear on that. And on this note, I'm wishing you the most powerful day, and may you remember that you are a powerful co-creator of your life, and don't let your BS, your ego's BS, run the show.